Welcome to Real News with the Real Chamber of Commerce, and today I'm going to talk about a serious threat to small businesses, young workers, and your wallet coming from Democrats in the Nevada legislature. A bedrock principle of our free market economy is an honest day's work for an honest day's pay. A willing employer offers to pay a willing worker what each voluntarily believes is a fair payment for the labor provided. If you don't like the pay offered, you don't take the job offered. It's that simple. But somewhere along the line, the government decided it knew better what an employer should pay an employee or what an employee should be willing to accept as pay from an employer. And ever since we had a government-imposed minimum wage. But make no mistake, this isn't really a minimum wage. It's an entry-level wage usually paid to workers just entering the job market and doing low-skilled jobs as they develop a work history and habits which lead to better jobs and higher pay. The so-called minimum wage was never intended to feed a family of four or pay the rent in a swanky gated community. It's simply the first rung on the employment ladder. If a worker chooses not to take the next step, that's his decision. But now, Democrats in the Nevada legislature want to enforce every business in Nevada to more than double the current minimum wage for entry-level jobs to $15 an hour. That's going to kill jobs, and it's going to kill many small businesses. That's not theory. That's reality. Consider these examples. In Brooklyn, New York, the owner of the Del Rio Diner closed his restaurant last year after a $15 minimum wage went into effect. Workers lost their jobs. In Flagstaff, Arizona, the owner of Cultured Yogurt closed its doors last month after a new $10 minimum wage went into effect. Workers lost their jobs. In San Diego, California, the owner of Competitive Edge closed its telephone room after a new $15 minimum wage went into effect and moved its 75 jobs to El Paso, Texas. Can you imagine what will happen in Nevada, where so many of our jobs are entry-level service jobs, if the proposed $15 minimum wage goes into effect? Hundreds of businesses will close and thousands of workers will lose their jobs. Also, in San Diego, many restaurants are now adding a 3% surcharge to their check to offset the higher minimum wage, meaning you and I are now paying for this unfunded government mandate in the free market. The whole thing is outrageous and an abuse of government power. A willing employer and willing employee should be allowed to negotiate how much a job pays between themselves without self-serving politicians sticking their nose into it. But sticking their nose where it doesn't belong is what anti-business Democrats do. This really isn't any surprise. It's expected. On the other hand, there's no excuse for the Las Vegas Chamber of Commerce to stand on the sidelines and watch it happen without even making a peep of protest. Here, take a look at the Chamber's lobbyists testifying last week in Carson City after being asked where they stood on raising the minimum wage.
Is it because of what the language is, or is it because the chamber was against it at its, at the concept before we ever even had language?
Yes. Through the chair to the speaker, I think in this current for the Chamber of Commerce, we do want to look at it bill by bill. And I do recall the conversation we had a while ago. There are always concerns about mandates and minimum wage and so forth. So I do appreciate that, but we are looking at each bill individually, and we'll always be at the table for that dialogue, sir.
Amazing! Talk about ducking an issue. Even the committee chairman had no idea where the chamber stood after this mushy-mouthed answer. This is exactly why former Assemblyman Brent Jones started the Real Chamber of Commerce this year. Brent and the Real Chamber have taken a firm stand in opposition to raising the minimum wage on behalf of every business in Nevada. Here, compare his testimony to the Las Vegas Metro's lobbyist.
Is really interested in helping those that they purport to help, then they would allow those that want to get on the first rung of the business to be able to have the opportunity to get on that first rung and learn what it takes to actually produce and participate in the workforce, and then move their way up to where they can make a better wage. Because the minimum wage is not for a living wage, it's for a beginning wage. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. We're going to go.
The Real Chamber of Commerce doesn't just support Nevada's businesses, it fights for them. The Real Chamber doesn't care if it's on some politician's Christmas card list or gets invited to fancy parties and receptions. The Real Chamber doesn't stay neutral on tough issues or worse, take every side of an issue. It takes a stand, a clear stand. It stands with Nevada's businesses. And it stands against these proposed minimum wage hikes that will put businesses out of business and people out of work. I'm Amy Jones, and I hope you'll join us.
Are you feeling sluggish, old, and tired? It could be because your body is dehydrated on a cellular level. Most purified waters are acidic and as a result may be rejected by your body. But it doesn't have to be that way. Real water is different. It is beyond alkalinity. Real water is infused with negative ions for ultra-cellular hydration. You will immediately notice the smooth, clean taste as you start hydrating the minute it hits your mouth. Real water. You will taste and feel this difference.